Good morning. Gonna be another hot day here in the Ozarks. Look at these little sunflowers. Aren't they cute? Some of the other flowers. Everything's looking pretty good. But we're not into flowers today. Today's project is fall peas. So you can see here in this tray I have a bunch of pea starts coming up. They transplant pretty easy, but only when they're little. You have to get right on them. So here we have a couple of tires that have had the top and bottom cut off of them and turned inside out. I think we'll make a couple of planters out of those. Of course, peas grow up, so we've got to have a tower of some sort. I've got this reclaimed 4x4 out of cedar here that I think I'll cut into 4 pieces. First though, it's got a bunch of staples in it that have to come out. I've got my sweat rag, some tools, and the ability to rehydrate. So, let's get started. Back in a minute. Lordy, I'll be glad when this gets in the shade. Okay, I've got all the staples pulled out, and there was a bunch of them. Now this 4x4 cedar came off of an old screened-in porch, I believe. Some stuff my brother gave to me. So there's some big paint edge and some wood still stuck on there. I think I'm going to have to take the random orbit sander and smooth it all down a little bit before I can even get a straight line cut in it. Okay, so Molly's got the right idea. She's in the shade. Aren't you, little girl? Okay, back to the project. I pulled all the staples. I took the Ryobi random orbit sander and have smoothed this all out. Found a bunch of nails in it too that I've pulled. Now I've got this 4x4 ready for layout, and I rip it into, well, cross cut it to length and then probably rip it into 4 square posts. Already down to half glass on the T. Pretty dang hot, but we'll persevere for a while longer. Okay, I've measured this 4x4. Turns out, well, usually they're 3.5, but this one happens to be 3 5/8 inches, which is perfect. I don't know if you ever noticed on a speed square, inside here you got all these little notches every 1/4 of an inch. So you can run your square against the edge of your board with your pencil and make your line. So if you look at this, I've done that from both sides. I have 1 3/4 here, 1 3/4 there, and about 1/8 of an inch left in the middle. That 1/8 of an inch is equal to the kerf cut on the saw. So this should come out pretty even. We'll see. Okay, I've squared off the ends, and I've cut it to 5.5 feet long, I believe. And I've got my layout line on. You notice I've got the saw set to cut just past halfway from both sides. So, time to rip next. Man, it's hot out here. Okay, well, here we have it. A 4x4 post turned into 4 equal squares, and they're not perfect. You know what? They're close enough for the kind of work I do. Fresh glass of iced tea with lemon. And it's time to sit in the shade for a little bit. Okay, let's take a minute to talk about what we're doing here. Let's see if I can sketch real quick and talk at the same time. But I've got the tires that I've cut out, and I want to put a post in the ground through the tire. You know, fill that with topsoil, compost, and stuff to plant the peas in. And I need support the peas climbing up the inside of this circle. So I'm going to take the post that we just made, down through the middle there. And then up so far here, what I'm thinking about is an octagonal shape. You know, top and bottom, made out of pallet wood probably. I should have made this bottom a little bigger. It will be bigger now. I think it's about 24 inches. And I'll probably bring at least 4 lines down to the tire and connect, so that the dirt in there will give it a base to work from. And we might cut a little decorative edge on top of this. I don't know. We'll see. But then from there, see, I can string my lines down all the way around, and then the peas, can grow up the strings all the way to the top. And the next thing you know, this thing should be just one big mass of green pods, I'm hoping. Anyhow, we'll see how that works out, That's the hope anyway. So, there you have it. It's kind of what I'm up to here. Good morning. And yes, it is the next morning. Yesterday afternoon, thunderstorms rolled in. It was hot and humid, so I didn't do anything. Anyhow, this morning I've got a pallet on the table. I'm going to take the skill saw, and I'm going to cut off the slats on both sides off of the carrier board here. So I'm not really interested in stuff that has nail holes in the end, so I might as well just cut it off now and make it easy. All I have to do is pry it loose from the middle. Remove those nails, and I'll have my material. So as you can see, I took the skill saw and just cut, the slats off the sides. Here's the center one. I have to just pry boards off. Sometimes the nails stay in and pull all the way through the board. Other times they come up with it. Both crowbar, doesn't take very long. Then you end up with a nice pile of slats already clean on the ends. So next step is to figure out how to rip them into the widths that I need to build the octagons. I've taken a piece of scrap plywood and screwed one of the narrower pieces of pallet wood to the side of it. Then I screwed it to the tabletop. I put one screw in the end here off so the boards will lay up against it. And I've set the saw where it will barely cut through into the plywood. So what happens is I put a piece of pallet wood against the fence there like that, runs up against the screw so it won't push forward. Take the skill saw, run the edge of the saw against the backboard like a fence. It's 1 3/8 wide, which should be plenty. And I should be able to rapidly rip up all this lumber.